So, what happens after the pop? Right now, it is early July 2026, and for the last 3.5 years, we have been watching the biggest, most expensive, most colorful bubble in the history of technology get blown up right in front of our eyes. Of course, I'm talking about the AI bubble. Since ChatGPT launched back in 2022, artificial intelligence has been absolutely everywhere. It wrote our emails, it made funny pictures of astronauts riding horses, and it convinced the smartest investors in the world to spend hundreds of billions of dollars building massive supercomputers. Every company in the world suddenly slapped the letters AI onto their products. We got AI toothbrushes, AI mattresses, AI drive-thrus. It was a frenzy, but recently, if you look at the news, things have started to feel a little shaky. Investors are asking, where are the profits? Startups are running out of cash. The hype train is slowing down. We are standing on the very edge of a classic textbook financial bubble bursting. When you hear the word burst, it sounds like a disaster, right? It sounds like the end of the world. It sounds like people losing money and technology failing. But that's not how it works. Today, I want to show you exactly what happens when a tech bubble bursts, what happens to all those companies, what happens to the giant computers, and what happens to the technology we have all gotten used to. To understand what's about to happen, we have to understand what a bubble actually is. And to do that, I want you to imagine a gold rush. Imagine it's 1800s. Someone found a shiny gold nugget in a river. They run into the town and yell, "There's gold in the hills." Suddenly, everyone goes completely crazy. Thousands of people quit their jobs and rush to the mountains to dig. Now, if you are a really smart business person, you realize something very quickly. Digging for gold is incredibly hard, and most people won't find any. But selling shovels to the miners, that's easy money. So everyone starts making shovels. Investors pours millions of dollars into shovel factories. They build massive towns, new railroads, and huge hotels just to support the miners who are coming to buy shovels. Everyone is convinced that there is enough gold in those hills to make them all billionaires. But what happens if they dig and dig and dig? And the gold they found is only worth a few $1 million. What if the gold doesn't cover the cost of all those new railroads and hotels? The math stops making sense. The shovels factories goes bankrupt, the hotels closes, the investors lose their money, the bubble bursts. This is exactly what has been happening in the AI industry leading up to today. Here's the math of the AI bubble, made simple. Over the last few years, the biggest tech companies in the world, places like Microsoft, Google, Meta, and Amazon, have spent an astronomical amount of money. We are talking about over $1 trillion. That's right. But what did they buy? Well, believe me when I tell you that they bought the shovels. See, in the AI world, a shovel is a computer chip. Actually, it's a big giant graphics processor, mostly made by one company called NVIDIA. That's because AI requires huge warehouse-sized buildings filled with these chips, all running at the same time, sucking up massive amounts of electricity and water just to learn how to write a poem or generate a video. The tech companies spent all this money building these giant factories because they believed that AI is going to transform the global economy literally overnight. They really thought AI was the biggest gold mine in the human history, and they bet big. But here is where the bubble gets stretched too thin. To pay for those trillion-dollar factories, the tech companies need to make $1 trillion back from us, the customers. But how are we actually using AI right now? Some companies are using AI to generate real business values. It's curing diseases and helping in accessibility, but that's a minuscule fraction. Most of us are using it to help with our homework, write polite emails to our bosses, run simple customer service supports. It's very cool and very helpful, but it's not making trillions of dollars. Think about it. A company spends $1 billion to build a supercomputer, but the app they create only charges you $20 a month. You would need a lot of people paying $20 a month for a very long time just to break even. And right now, people are starting to cancel those subscriptions because they just don't need that much AI assistance in their daily lives. The cost of running AI is incredibly high, and the money coming in is just not good enough to cover the bill. And that is why Bubble goes. So what does the burst actually looks like? What actually changes in the real world? It happens in 3 phases. Phase 1 is the startups vanish. Over the last 3 years, thousands of brand new companies popped up overnight. Most of these companies didn't actually build their own artificial intelligence. Building an AI from scratch or even training or configuring it takes hundreds of millions of dollars. Trust me, we do this for a living. Instead, these startups just took an existing AI like ChatGPT, put a really pretty colorful button on top of it and called it a new product. In tech world, we call these wrappers companies because they just wrap someone else's technology into new package. See, these wrapper companies are just paying OpenAI or Google to use the technology behind the scenes, and that means their costs are way too high. They don't actually own the magic trick, they just rent it. So when the investors stop giving them free money, they run out of cash right away. For you and me, this means a lot of the cool little apps we downloaded over the last few years will just stop. You will open your favorite AI recipe generator or your AI travel planner, and the screen will just be blank. Thousands of these apps will evaporate overnight. That's the phase 1. Phase 2, the great fire sale. When all those startups go out of business, what happens to all this ultra expensive hardware they bought? If a local pizza shop goes out of business, they sell their ovens and their tables for really cheap, just to get some money back. When AI companies go out of business, they sell shovels, aka their computer chips. Suddenly, the market is going to be flooded with used computer servers and GPUs. The prices of this hardware, which used to be crazy high, will plummet. But it's not just old chips being sold for cheap. Right now, a brand new generation of GPUs is being actively developed, especially in China. These new chips are designed to offer way more computing power for a lot of less money, completely changing how affordable hardware is. At the exact same time, the software itself is shifting. For a long time, the most powerful AI models were closed, locked away inside the walls of a few giant corporations. But right now, open-weight models, which are AI brains that developers can download, look inside and customize for free, are getting increasingly powerful. In fact, they're rapidly catching up to and even beating the expensive closed ones. Suddenly, smaller companies, universities, and independent researchers who could never afford to participate before can use highly advanced AI for pennies. The power of AI is spreading out from a few giant tech monopolies and flooding into the hands of regular people. That's phase 2. Phase 3, the giants pullback. The biggest companies in the world, the Googles, the Microsofts, the Amazons, will look at the math and realize they built too many data centers too fast. They won't go out of business, of course. They are massive trillion-dollar empires with hundreds of products in game. But they will stop spending so much money. But their problem are not just financial. They're also hitting a massive government wall. Right now, in July of 2026, the US government has stepped into the censor and restrict the latest, most powerful models from the biggest players like Anthropic's new model Fable and OpenAI version 5.6. Because the US government is holding back these massive American systems, it is opening up a massive global competition. Key players in the rest of the world, especially in China, Europe, and Japan, are rushing into the gap with their own uncensored, highly powerful models. This double block of high debt and government restrictions is causing the stock prices of huge chip makers to look scarily volatile. When phase 3 fully hits, the news anchors are going to panic and the headlines will read, "The dream is dead, the tech industry crashes." But here's the absolute most important secret of this entire video. The dream is not dead. It just got the slight reality check that it probably always needed. To prove it to you that a bubble burst isn't the end of the world, we need to take a quick trip back in time to the year 2000. In the late 1990s, we had something called the dot-com bubble. It was almost exactly the same story we are living through right now, just with a different technology, the internet. People in the 90s realized the internet was going to change the world, and they were totally right. But they got way too excited, way too fast. Investors threw billions of dollars at absolutely any company that had .com at the end of its name. There was a famous company called Pets.com that sold dog food online. They spent millions of dollars on a Super Bowl commercial featuring a little sock puppet. They didn't have a plan to make real money. They just had hype. There were hundreds of Pets.coms out there, and then the bubble popped. Trillions of dollars disappeared from the stock market. Thousands of companies went bankrupt overnight. People did a complete U-turn and went on television saying the internet was just a silly phase that had completely failed. But look at what happened right after the crash. During the dot-com bubble, telecommunication companies spent billions laying thick fiber optic cables under the oceans and across continents. They built the physical pipes of the internet. They wired the entire planet together. When those companies went bankrupt, those cables didn't disappear because you cannot just undug a trench. The cables were still buried in the ground, but they just became a lot cheaper to use because the companies that owned them were desperate to rent them out. And because all that expensive infrastructure was suddenly cheap and available, a new group of smart people came along a few years later and said, "Hey, we have all this incredibly cheap, super fast internet bandwidth now. What can we build?" And what did they build? They built YouTube. They built Netflix. They built Facebook and Spotify and the entire modern smartphone app economy. The bubble had to burst so that the technology could become cheap enough to actually change the world in a meaningful way. And that's exactly what's going to happen with AI bubble pop right now as well. Think about all those massive AI data centers the tech giants have been building over the last 3 years. When the bubble bursts, those buildings don't evaporate. Computer chips don't turn to dust. The power grids don't vanish. They stay right where they are. But because the hype is gone and the panic has set in, the cost of using the artificial intelligence will drop to almost nothing. Right now, AI is a premium product. It's a magic trick we pay subscriptions for, subscriptions that cost hundreds of dollars for a small team. But after the bubble burst, AI will become a utility. Think about electricity, or water, or Wi-Fi. When you flip a light switch in your bedroom, you don't think, "Wow, the incredible miracle of electricity is lighting my room." You don't marvel at the power grid. No. You just expect the light to turn on. It's boring, it feels cheap, accessible, it's just part of the background of your life. After the AI bubble bursts, AI will finally become boring. And I mean boring in the absolute best possible way. The cost of running AI will become so cheap, it will just be baked into absolutely everything, completely, invisibly. Your phones will just naturally understand what you mean when you ask it to find that one photo from your vacation 3 years ago where you were wearing a red hat. Your doctor's computer system will just automatically take perfect notes while you talk to them without anyone having to press a special AI button. Video games will have characters that actually talk to you in real time, completely unscripted, because the processing power to do that will cost fractions of penny, thanks to all the discarded AI shovels and affordable new global chips out there. But that's still a few years away. Right now we are forcing AI to do things it isn't quite ready for, just to justify the billions of dollars we spend on it. When the bubble pops, this pressure goes away. The companies that survived won't be the ones trying to sell you a magical AI everything button. They will be the companies that use their super cheap post-bubble intelligence powered by accessible open weight models to solve real, actual problems in the background. They will use it to discover new medications by sorting through millions of chemicals combinations. They will use it to manage city traffic lights so you never hit a red light when there are no other cars around. They will use it to make our phone's batteries last twice as long by managing the power perfectly. The hype will be gone, which means the real work can finally start. So, as we move through the rest of 2026, you are going to see a lot of scary headlines. You are going to see stock numbers crashing. You are going to see few startups completely vanish from your radar. You might even see people saying that artificial intelligence was the biggest scam of the century. But remember, over the last 3.5 years, humanity has built the most powerful computer network in the history of civilization. The gold rush is ending. The hype is fading. The tourists are going home. And now we get to find out what all these shovels can actually build. And for me, I'm really excited to see what the future brings to us. Thank you so much for exploring this with me. This is Sangmin speaking from Jamilius. Thank you for watching.